I wish maybe what we're going through now, which is such a painful experience, that people will realize that the common enemy is the virus, not each other. We're in this together, and the only way we're going to conquer this virus is by working together.
Would that everyone agreed on that. Tonight, hospitals across states like Florida and Texas are overwhelmed with patients. Yet to stay on brand and be cheered by the MAGA base, a lot of Republican politicians are anti-maskers in effect, even while their own constituents die. The Atlantic's Adam Serwer sums it up this way, quote, "Something is wrong when an extreme primary electorate has such a stranglehold on Texas, a state of 29 million people, that a public official believes it is against his interest to take basic steps to keep his own constituents alive." So back with us tonight, David Plouffe, former Obama campaign manager and senior advisor to the president, also a member of the board of directors of the Obama Foundation, and Mark McKinnon, former advisor to both George W. Bush and John McCain. He is among the co-hosts of The Circus on Showtime. And Mark, indeed, I'd like to begin with you. Is it a sustainable brand, what Fred Wellman of the Lincoln Project calls this ghoulishness? No masks, no problem. Science be damned, as long as these Republican governors don't piss off the MAGA base.
Well, it's a huge dice roll that's playing with human lives, Brian. And the reality here is that the measures that we're being asked to take now, which is wearing masks and mandating vaccines in some cases, are precisely because of Republican MAGA efforts, Donald Trump supporters' efforts to defy those. I mean, the reason that we have a surge in the Delta variant is because people didn't get vaccines or they wouldn't wear masks. So the kinds of things that the health officials are asking us to do are simply basic safety measures. And the irony is that Republican governors like Texas and Florida are doing exactly the opposite of what Republican orthodoxy generally asks for, which is to let local jurisdictions handle their own business. That's Republican. That's the way Republicans normally govern. Let locals make their own decisions. So it's up is down and down is up. It's kind of an Alice in Wonderland. And I worry that the Republican Party is becoming sort of the grand old pandemic party now by embracing the pandemic and sort of damn the consequences of the health problems.
David Plouffe, I want to play for you the latest from Governor DeSantis in Florida. We'll discuss these remarks on the other side.
I think the non-pharmaceutical interventions we've seen, remember, we were promised that they would end the pandemic, lockdown, school closures, mandates, and it just hasn't done that. This is a very transmissible virus. COVID's not going to go away. We're going to have future, I think, trends. That's just natural.
So, David, as I keep pointing out, this guy went to Harvard and Yale, so maybe to coin a phrase, he does think we're stupid. How much is this, the actions of these Republican governors, going to actually set back the public health fight against a pandemic?
Oh, Brian, enormously so. I mean, we have selfishness and stupidity and sabotage coursing through many state houses in the country. So first of all, you can't think of anything worse, particularly an executive, a governor, a mayor, a president, than to willfully allow your citizens to die. And that's what's happening. We're all going to pay a price for it, by the way, with additional healthcare costs and things like mask mandates and private sector vaccine mandates. But the politics of this, to me, are puzzling. So listen, let's look at Ron DeSantis. He's kind of the hot new thing for 2024. Maybe he runs and maybe he'll run for president and say, I defied mask mandates. I think Donald Trump won the election. I wasn't sure the vaccines really worked. And he may win the primary, but, 2/3 of the country, my guess is by the end of the year will be north of 75% of people are vaccinated. They want this pandemic to be over. So, yeah, the tragedy is in most places around the world, they look at this and they can't imagine what's happening here in America. We have more vaccines than we need, and we can't get people to take them. And in most of the world, they'd all sign up to take vaccines tomorrow if they could. So it's a tragedy. So this is This is extending the pandemic is a man-made disaster by certain Republican politicians who want to beat their chest in the cause of freedom, but it's killing our economy. It's killing people. Listen, it was a high school in Mississippi. I believe it was Pearl Valley Central High School. 40% of their students are now in quarantine. They're going back to virtual. This is going to happen all over the southern states, unfortunately. We know it's going to happen. It's happening in slow motion, unfortunately.
And Mark, it's a perverse business, but perhaps the clearest way to say it is this. You've got state and local officials who are defying their governors in order to save lives in their states.
Well, they're defying the governor because their first order of business is to do the job that they were hired to do, which is to protect the health and education of their constituencies. And, the governors are asking them to defy their mission, their fundamental mission, which is to educate children and keep keep patients safe. And the governors are asking them to do that. So I understand why they're defying the orders. And I suspect, and again, it's so hypocritical of Republicans to say, we're gonna mandate this. They're mandating they're mandating what you can or can't do. They're the ones mandating, right? And again, it's so opposite of what the general Republican approach is to governing, which is to allow local control. So I think it's a very unfortunate situation with real life consequences, as David mentioned.